Hello, Tom Levecchia here with a very special live edition of the New Theory podcast, along with collaboration with Mobsters Inc. So we'll get right to it. Hello, Tom Levecchia here with, again, this very special edition of Mobsters Inc. I just finished a really good in-studio interview with Louis Ferrante, who wrote one of my favorite books of all time. It's related to Mob Rules, what the mafia can teach legitimate businessmen, men. And then his new book, we covered Borgata, Rise of an Empire, History of the American Mafia. So literally just wrapped it up. We did an in-studio interview. We now have a studio for in-person interviews. Today is going to be a special one. We're doing remote with Francesco Fiordilino, and we're going to be discussing the Maxi Trial, as they also call it, the Maxi Processo, and interesting confrontation. Frank, welcome.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
To the podcast. How you doing today?
How's it going?
Good.
Good,
I'm ready
yourself?
to go. I poured myself a few fingers of bourbon. Salute.
Salute. I wish I could do the same thing, but it's Monday.
Don't worry,
I had fun yesterday. I ain't judging.
That's true. So, all right. So we're gonna do something different today. We're gonna kind of do something special. Walk us through kind of setting this up. I'll put the YouTube on in a minute. Kind of give a little bit of the background of Pippo Calò, who he is, as well as Tommaso Buscetta.
All right, they kind of grew up together, Pippo Calò and Tommaso Buscetta. They grew distance, obviously, and that's in the 80s as we go into the second mob war that took place in the 80s in Sicily. Now, at this point, this confrontation we're going to show is between both of them in court. And the court systems in Italy are different. You can confront your accuser and explain that, Tom. You're pretty good with that.
Yeah. So one of the things in Italy is, okay, so in the U.S., right, you have, let's say, an informant, or you have somebody who is trying to be damaging to your case. Now, obviously, you can cross-examine on the stand with your defense attorney, but you can't, talk to them directly, right? The American system doesn't allow for that, and it's much different. The way the Italian justice system works, which is really interesting, is if you have an informant or somebody who's really trying to put the nail in the coffin in your case, you can formally address them on the stand in front of the jury, in front of the magistrates, and that's what's happening in the video we're about to see. Which is
we're about to show.
Yeah, which is very, sorry, a little ambient noise, which is very unique to the.
And
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Tom. Let's give a little background of who Tommaso Buscetta is. He grew up in Portanova. That's an area in Palermo, a neighborhood, and it also has a mantenimento of the mob, and so did Pippo Calò. The animosity grows with the treachery from the war. The Buscetta thought he had a friend in Pippo Calò. He could in him, and Calò is actually playing the double part, the double agent part there, if you will, and going back to Toto Riina, that we're going to get to him later, and that's what happened. So he's on the lam. Buscetta is in Brazil, and one day his kids disappear. His two kids from his previous marriage, and they disappear. He calls to the Calò calls him and goes, "Hey, look, your kids are missing. You need to be back here in Sicily," But there was I'll get to what happened there, but Calò was playing two sides. He was informed that, and Buscetta, being Calò was his boss and his friend forever, kind of two-timed him. He knew that he was talking to the other rival, who was Badalamenti in Brazil, so he figured they were going to have a coup. And Buscetta, not knowing that Calò was already aligned with Riina, trusted him.
Correct.
And not knowing about his kids and what really happened to his kids that we will get to in the confrontation. And I want to reveal the treachery that goes on while they're both going at it with each other. It's actually the highlight of this case. We're not going to show the whole thing. We're going to show one of the heated moments where they're going back and forth. That he pretends like he didn't know, man. He wasn't who he says he was. Yeah, I knew you, he says, but Kalu tells Buscetta, but I didn't know you like that. He goes, I knew your family, and I was a better father to your kids than you were. You left. You were in Brazil. These kids were on their own. And we'll get to the end result.
Let's jump right in. So I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna be off screen. It's gonna be looking at the YouTube itself. So just tell me when to hit pause.
Sure.
Also, I think you might need to translate. I could as well, but your Sicilian probably a little better than mine. But
let's leave that to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Signor Presidente, io desidero una cortesia dalla Corte, di dire al signor Buscetta tutto ciò che mi deve dire, che cosa mi deve accusare, che dica almeno le cose dove lui ha le prove o almeno i testimoni di queste circostanze, e non faccia come ha fatto fino adesso nel dire me l'ha detto o l'ho saputo. Lui, come io farò adesso in questo confronto, che io proverò con documentazione tutto quello che ho da dire, e così desidererei che lui facesse lo stesso, non per sentito dire e non perché me l'hai detto tu. Neanche.
Okay, he's got to do the setup. Walk us through that.
Okay, he states all he asks is that Buscetta brings proof of what he's being accused of. Right. And no hearsay, just no hearsay. You didn't hear it from this guy, that guy. You heard it from me. Just absolute proof. Buscetta has accused me, he says, of 100 serious crimes, and Kalu will expose Buscetta for the liar that he is, you know, and he says it affirmatively while he's talking. While he's talking very Italian dialect, he loses himself in the Palermitano Sicilian.
Don't give it away yet, because the reason why this is like also really
no. At the end, when he says for the liar that he is,
correct. Because
he shows that.
Well, you picked up on that, and you're obviously.
Well, I should pick up on that, I think.
Exactly, but that's what makes this great, right? He speaks with the right effect, proper Italian. Looks almost like professorial, and it's kind of like your Italian uncle who maybe had a little too much wine on Christmas, and then all of a sudden he kind of goes off on a little bit of the Palermitano. And I found that interesting as well. All right, we'll continue.
Anche questo deve dire. Deve portare le prove, perché lui mi sta accusando di cose molto grave per cui non è che sono un furtarello, mi sta accusando di 110, non so, imputazione. E allora desidero che lui mi dica quali sono quelle cose che lui mi accusa, con le prove, e che non faccia come ha fatto fino adesso, signor Presidente.
Senta, non dobbiamo fare un interrogatorio. Lei
Now that's Buscetta behind the protective glass, obviously.
Ma scusi, signor Presidente, signor Presidente, scusi, io lo devo dichiarare bugiardo in quest'aula non una volta, più di una volta, 10 volte. Andiamo avanti.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. So that's Buscetta that goes, let's go forward to the judge. He goes, hey, listen, whatever he has to say, he says, I've not only found one lie on him, I found 100 lies on him. Talking about Buscetta, and Buscetta tells him, well, let's go forward. And go ahead.
Perché poi le dirò altre cose, signor Calò.
Sente, Buscetta, a me ancora continua a sentire...
Non mi chiamare neanche Buscetta, dici un nome qualsiasi.
Oh, this is important.
Okay, so there he goes. He breaks it to Sicilian again. And he goes, what do you? He goes, don't call me Buscetta. He goes, don't call. He goes, and what do you want me to call you? Like he wants to say it straight out. You want me to call you a rat or something? But he doesn't say. He's being sarcastic.
Well, that's what's crazy about it. Buscetta's kind of goating him, despite being a pentito, being an informant, which especially in Sicily, it doesn't go over too well.
Well.
Come vuoi che ti chiamo?
Hai calpestato a chi hai accarezzato.
Buscetta, scusa un attimo, mi scusi Presidente. Siamo sempre Siamo sempre al solito ritornello, signor Presidente. Io le porterò le prove, quello che dirò, ma lui me le deve pure portare.
Lei Buscetta,
Io se lui ha finito vorrei immettere una cosa nuova, se lui proprio insiste così, che l'ho accusato di 69 omicidi, le dico un fatto.
Damn, okay, go, that's important.
Okay,
Go
here you go. Now, he goes, well, yeah, I'll bring proof that I didn't say what he says I said, but let him prove it that I did what I did. You understand? I guess in Italian it sounds better, but he says that to him basically, and Buscetta, and he's getting lit right now, and he's ready to give an example. He goes, well, you know what? Let me continue, and I'll tell you a story about this guy. I know he's accused of 69 murders. He goes, but I'll tell you one of them in particular. So he's introducing him to one of the stories, and this is what basically when Buscetta sees the sign, the writing on the wall, what's going on in Sicily. He goes, wait a minute. Oh, you know, he should have known then that this guy was basically going to sleep with the rival faction, but he didn't pick up on it right away. And this is the murder that it should have picked it up. It was a murder of one of their own, one of the people from Porto Novo. And here it goes. Buscetta talks about it.
And really quick, guys, and just to put this into context, I know Nicosia Connection can appreciate this. Peterstown, good guy, know him. Soretti probably gets it. Most people get this. This is like having Castellano, Tony Ducks, Carlo Gambino on the actual stand, talking on the camera, and like Gotti even like debating like Sammy. So that's why this is like profound, you know, in that sense.
It's different. The American mob, you don't say nothing. You shut up. You take no pleas, no nothing. At that point in time in the 80s, and here they're going against people, you know, like, you know, you don't make your client talk to freaking somebody who's accusing them. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Nuovo, inedito. È disposto ad ascoltarmi, signor Presidente?
Io?
No,
Sì.
no, l'ultimo arrivo.
Cosa?
L'ultimo arrivo.
Sì, l'ultimo arrivo. L'ultimo arrivo.
Qua.
Io nel 1979 o 80 o 78 sono in carcere, apro il giornale e leggo. Scomparso una persona. Questa persona che io leggo nel giornale è un membro della sua famiglia, perché io non...
Real quick, can you see that body
Okay,
language?
all right. So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So he says he's in jail around 78 and between 78, 79, 80 maybe. He's in jail. He reads about he reads in the paper about a murder of a certain or someone who was missing by the name of Giannuzzo La Ligada. He goes, that's somebody that was part of their little clique.
Yes.
And he was confused. He says, what happened to him? He didn't understand, you know, what happened to him. So he keeps on going and he'll tell the story. Go ahead.
Non faccio più parte adesso. Il primo incontro con Calò, io le domando che cosa ha fatto, perché lo chiamavamo così, Giannuzzo, per scomparire, perché è scomparso. Me l'ha detto la commissione. Sì, ma tu hai detto alla commissione che questo era un bravo ragazzo, che questo era una valida persona. La commissione me l'ha detto. Pippo, ma tu hai detto che questo ragazzo ha sofferto tanta fame in carcere dal 63 al 69, è stato condannato per associazione a delinquere. Sì, ma non ho potuto.
Okay, so he's telling him basically this kid was one of us. What did he do wrong? From 73 to about 76, he served in a juvenile detention on he was a juvenile at the time for association, which is like conspiracy. He was always a nice kid. What did he do wrong so bad? So, you know, he asked him, he goes, you know, I don't know. He asked the guy, the people, Colo, not Buscetta, the other guy, he asked people, what happened to me? And he basically tells him, it was something to do with the commission. You know, I don't know what happened. You know, at that point, he didn't know. And he says, okay. So he was dumbfounded up to a certain to a certain. So he goes to another prison, and this is where you could keep going.
Okay.
Lo farà a me. Ho chiuso l'argomento con lui. Mi sono recato a Favarella e ho incontrato Salvatore Greco. E ho detto, a Salvatore Greco, Michele Greco. Michele, ma perché è stato deciso di...
And that's Miguel Greco right there, right, Frank?
Right, he's walking towards. That's the guy they're talking about, the third party here. So what happened goes, he goes, you go to another. I go to another prison, and I have the same question: why was this kid killed? Why was he strangled? Why? What the hell? What the hell happened? And Miguel Grego, the guy that you see right there, he wants to listen to what was going on. Because he asked him, and Miguel Grego says because he was close to Gaetano Badalamenti, who was at that time the leader of the losing faction at that point of that Sicilian war.
Correct.
And we'll explain who Gaetano Badalamenti is eventually.
Yeah.
But that was what's going on. So he goes, oh, all right. And then he should have seen the writing on the wall. Weren't we allied with Gaetano Badalamenti? So why would we allow that, you know? Yeah. And he's asking questions at that point that Kalu doesn't like, you know, but let's go on.
A Giannuzzo era troppo vicino a Gaetano Badalamenti, solo questo è il motivo, solo questo. Ma Michele, non potevate evitare questo? No, non si poteva evitare, è troppo vicino a Gaetano Badalamenti. Continuando nella passeggiata a Favarella, sono che passeggio con Vittorio Magliozzo che lui dice di non conoscere, e le dico: Vittorio, ma non era tuo compare Gianni? Sì. Ma niente avete fatto in famiglia per salvare la vita di Gianni? Io proprio quel giorno mi recavo da Don Pippo.
All right.
Okay, so he runs into while in jail, he runs into this guy who was deceased, who was killed. La Legata is Gumbari's best man, and he tells him, you remember Johnny? He was like, yeah, kind of like, but it's Gumbari. He goes, you don't remember? He goes, well, what would happen to him? We couldn't have saved his life. He's really adamant about this. This guy was in his Bugatti. He wants to know what happened to him. And the Gumbari goes, well, I run into people one day, and he was about to go get some airline tickets. So, and he goes, listen, when I come back, we'll talk about what happened. I'll find out, like. Yeah. And go ahead.
Yeah. E Don Pippo all'ingresso di questo negozio mi disse di andare a fare I biglietti di aereo. Yep. Quando sono ritornato mi ha detto: non domandare più di tuo compare perché è una situazione finita, non dite niente in giro. Questa persona si chiama Giovanni Lallicata, membro della famiglia di Porta Nuova, che il signor Calò con questa faccia di innocente si presenta qua per dire: dimmi di dove sono il capo, chi te l'ha detto? Questo è il signor Calò. Allora se il signor Calò vuole fare il pentito.
Okay, so finally he says, the guy comes back from going to the travel agency, the Calò guy comes back, and he tells the Gumbari of the guy who's deceased, he goes, listen, there's nothing we could do about it. He was killed, and do me a favor, don't ever bring him up again. It's a dead issue. Yep. And so Buscetta responds by saying now, he goes, this is the guy who killed La Legata, him right here, the guy who says he wasn't boss of nothing. He says he never was the boss of the Portanova family, and innocently stands there like he's just, never did anything to anyone. He's just that's how cold he is. The treachery of this guy, just sitting there like nothing. And that's what he's getting to.
And a quick sidebar, because people that follow this stuff, especially follow American Cousin Nostra, are used to the five families, where Sicily and the machinations is a little different, right? Palermo alone has about 25 families, but it's broken up a little different. Can you break that down really quick before we continue?
Different in what sense, though?
I mean, there's like 25 families. There's small.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like it. There's so much mafia in the Palermo area that they're by neighborhoods. That's how the Bagatas go. And there's not as many, but they're like little gangs. Not little gangs. They're very organized, but it's not rare to get anywhere from 10 to 20 in these areas members, which are like crews, but within the city itself. Every city has them. Every neighborhood, not city, neighborhood.
And each Mendemente has like a local boss that either breaks up for the region or the commission. Would it be fair to say that Pupil Callo at the time was the number one guy at Palermo? Would that be fair?
Yeah, he sat in the commission. So did he was like his co-guy. So was Buscetta, you know. But Dante and Zarello were the main guys. Not main. You had Butante, you had Badalamenti, and you had Riina. Ligio at one time, but he was in jail still from the Miguel Navarro days, you know. So that's what was going there. But not to lose ourselves here. Let's hit it.
Anche lui che dica tutte le cose che lui ritiene più opportuno di dire sul mio conto, li accetterò, e se verrò condannato per me sarà gloria, la mia famiglia è sistemata, io per me non ho paura di carcere perché del resto sono carcerato come lui, può parlare, lo sfido a parlare.
Finito? Intanto
you want to touch on that, or you want Callo to speak?
Yeah, he tells him no. I'm don't matter. You know, even if I'm in prison, just on what's happened to me in the past. He goes, it doesn't matter if he gets life or not. I don't care. He goes, because I'm in my own prison, just because of what he has occurred from this man in front of me.
Yeah, and listen, I know, like, respectfully, some people don't like informants. People don't like people that inform. I get it. They killed 9 people in this guy's family, and they weren't stopping. So just, you know, you got to take that into account for this guy.
You like the fact that his
Go ahead, Frank. Sorry.
You like the fact that his family and I liked. He took comfort in the fact that the only surviving members of his 2 sons from his second marriage were safe.
Correct.
Because even when he was inside, I don't, or in hiding rather, I'm sorry, when he was in hiding, they were still killing his family because they wanted him to return to Sicily. They didn't stop. Even when he went to jail, they didn't stop. He tried to kill himself in '84.
Yep.
And they still were
unsuccessful.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I get it. When I look at cases, I don't defend telling. Okay. I know I've been in that position. But I mean, this guy, he'd been through a lot. They made him a rat. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Allora ti stai pentendo tu? Perché io cosa da pentirmi? Naturalmente non ne ho, perciò non ho di che cosa pentirmi. E poi sta parola tenetela per te perché ti sta bene. Di queste, ora quanto tutto quello che stai raccontando.
You see the hand signal around the neck? Am I looking too much into it? But was that like I'm gonna kill you? Or is that just a
No. He was telling him that he didn't like the word the repentant, repentido, to someone who repents. It's a soft word for rat. He goes, you should. He tells him you should repent for all the things you did. He goes, no. You take that title. I'm fine with it. He's like, they're badgering each other.
That's one of the differences between USA and Italy, where in the US it's informant, confidential informant, confidential witness. Obviously, street vernacular is rat, snitch, whatever that is, right? In Italy, they call it a pentito or pentiti if it's more than one. And a pentito means a repentant. They tie it into religion, saying that person has been redeemed. You know, that person has repented. And they tie it into a religious context.
Tutto quello che stai raccontando sono altri fatti nuovi che ti hanno raccontato adesso. Cosa sono? Cose antiche,
non sono
cose
fatti
nuove.
Non sono fatti nuovi. Tu e io ne abbiamo parlato.
Tu e me, con me.
Tu e io.
Sei sempre continua ad essere
ti annuncio la legata.
Continua ad essere sempre lo stesso.
Con le tue mani l'hai fatto.
Buscetta, ho capito, devi insistere sempre nelle tue bugie, nelle tue cose.
Sì.
Okay.
Se no le bugie.
Hello.
Go ahead, Frank.
See, they're losing themselves now. They're getting into each other a lot. He keeps talking about that kid they killed from the Manteramento. He goes, Gianni La Legata, you killed, and he's getting aggravated. He's going, yeah, no, you. How do you know that? You know, they're going back and forth, like as if, you know, one's starting to deny it and the other one's accusing right there. So they're kind of like starting to battle. They're losing the whole court procedure.
What who was the guy we was talking about? Like, was he a made guy? Was he
Yeah, he was a made guy. He was a young kid growing up. He was a really nice kid, and the only crime he had was that he was really respectful to Gaetano Badalamenti and close to him, and they didn't like that. You know, he might have done something. He might have gave him a ride somewhere, and that was good enough for him to get killed. That's the type of shit that was going on back then. You know, Toto Riina, if it was that kind of paranoid individual, you know, he was responsible, according to Giovanni Buscetta, for over 300 murders himself, you know.
Yeah.
Delle sofferenze tue,
se no questo
tu non pensi delle sofferenze,
se no questo premio non lo puoi avere, Buscetta. Non te ne vuoi andare sconfitto di qua.
Adesso non ti puoi fare ammazzare perché sono ben guardato, devi aspettare qualche anno.
Non te ne puoi andare,
devi aspettare qualche anno per farmi ammazzare.
Sconfitto di qua non te ne vuoi andare.
Che sconfitto? Io sono sconfitto, io sono un carcerato come te.
Sconfitto non te ne vuoi andare, devi ancora insistere.
Io sono sconfitto come te.
Vai aumentando sempre.
Io sono sconfitto.
Vai aumentando sempre accuse.
All right, so at this point they're talking over each other. They're somewhat belligerent.
Yeah, he's telling him that I'm lost. He's telling him I'm lost. You're not. And the other guy goes, well, you're just mad because you couldn't kill me, and now you can't kill me anymore. And they're really going at it. But at this point, it's going to get to the point. He's going to talk about his kids, and I want you to watch that.
Okay.
Ho perso famiglia, ho perso la mia libertà.
Ma questo vedetelo tu, vedi tu che cosa hai combinato, vedi tu la devi mia colpa, mia massima colpa. Tu lo sai i fatti, tu li puoi sapere. Io, signor Presidente, lui lo sa. Io rispettavo il fratello, i figli, perciò quando dice queste cose a me mi fanno più male, perché sono sicuro che quando è morto il fratello, il nipote, mi sono preso più dispiacere io che lui
Ipocrita.
Perché lui se ne stava in Argentina,
okay, that's important.
A godersi la vita.
Okay.
He tells him basically that when your kids died, when your nephews and your brother-in-law, I took the more approach to making sure everything was okay. I was the sad one, not you. You were living in Brazil, whoring around with your second wife and everything. You didn't give a shit. I did. He goes, not you. So your morality was just one of a womanizer. You didn't give a shit about your kids or your family.
Interesting.
E lì è rimasto.
Per il momento non ho niente
si è fatto pentito solo quando si è visto.
Però eventualmente mi ricordo, potrò dire altre cose.
Posso sapere chi gliel'ha detto?
L'Alicante lei lo conosceva? Questo l'Alicante detto Giannuzzo.
Ma chi è?
Io adesso ho avuto come imputato dentro il carcere insieme a lui a Catanzaro. Lui dice chi è Giovanni L'Alicante. Lui dice chi è Giovanni L'Alicante.
So he's denying he even knows him?
Yeah, he denied knowing the kid who got made. He says, well, you were in the same cell with him in jail. He goes, you were friends with him in jail. He goes, yeah, I knew him in jail, but that doesn't mean I knew him on the outside. Because, of course, then now he's back. He's telling him I knew him in jail. He goes, yeah, you guys used to walk together all the time.
L'Alicata, Giovanni, tu eri con me in carcere. Io a Catanzaro siamo stati 114 imputati.
Oh, that's important. That's important. That's Luciano Leggio. I don't know who that guy is, but that's the big guy.
Very big.
Altri imputati che sono qui, io li ho conosciuti perché sono a Catanzaro e li ho visti là, è un conto. Altro avere un rapporto di amicizia, di conoscenza. Ora, se tu sei stato con me in carcere a Catanzaro, no. È una bugia. Allora, vediamo quando io sono stato in carcere.
Well, now he got a good point, though.
Did you go to jail with me? He's like, no. So how the hell do you know, basically?
Yeah, how do you know if he was in my cell, if we weren't in the same prison together? He goes, but this was another prison where you used to walk the yard with him. So I knew you guys were together all the time, which makes sense. He's from the same Bagada. Why shouldn't he be in a cell with him? They both kind of like cause a little bit reasonable doubt to each other there.
Got it.
Un'altra bugia. Se dimentica pure di quello.
Io ho detto che non ero in carcere, che bugia ho detto.
Ah, non eri in carcere?
Io non ero in carcere. Io non ero in primo grado presente al primo grado del processo di Catanzaro. Sono stato in appello.
Allora ho capito male.
Lei era coimputato con l'Alicante?
Sì.
They're watching like a soccer game.
Sì,
quindi lei conosceva l'Alicante?
Così, come coimputato. Ma per i rapporti che dice lui, ma è assurdo.
Insomma, in carcere con lui c'è stato?
In carcere sì.
Nella stessa cella?
No, cella no. Eravamo a Catanzaro nella stessa,
Signor
diciamo,
Presidente, preciso
nella
meglio
stessa
per
sezione.
farlo ricordare a lui. Il carcere di Catanzaro ha dato un piano a tutti gli imputati dei 118, 100, quelli che erano, lasciando le porte aperte e mettendo solo gli imputati di questo processo. Quindi se non era nella cella, erano a passeggiare 24 ore.
Okay.
Yeah, so he says they were all together from the same trial, and that they were, and what's his face says, but they weren't together. The other ones, he goes, yeah, and you know, people. Calo says, well, Buscetta wasn't there. Calo said, yeah, I was there, but we weren't in the same cell. Now he says, first of all, he said he didn't know him, and now he says he wasn't in the same cell, but yes, he did walk the track with him.
Wow, I wonder if like that kind of interrogation back and forth or debate kind of hurts.
It hurts. It hurts you. It hurts the defendant. It's dumb.
Yeah. It never happened in the U.S.
Ora al giorno tutti assieme.
Ma certo.
Tutti assieme.
Tutti assieme.
E in quell'epoca in carcere non si ammazzava perché c'era anche Sirchia dentro il carcere. E nessuno con Sirchia.
Ma che significa? Che cosa vuoi intendere dire?
Si ammazzi
Ma che cosa vuoi intendere dire tu di questo? Scusa, che io conosco la
riguarda te.
Cioè avere cioè essere coimputato e avere un'amicizia sono due cose distinte e separate.
Ma lei avvocato ha detto che non lo conosceva.
Ma lui dice che racconta tutta questa storia come se lui fosse amico mio. Ma se noi parliamo di coimputato, vabbè, coimputato senz'altro io l'accetto, ma non amico. Ma quale amico?
Dunque,
Poi ha detto della stessa.
Want to keep going, or you want to jump in?
Yeah, that's fine. He's basically, that's what he's basically saying. He goes, yeah, I knew him in jail, but I didn't know him on the outside like that. He's trying to cause deflection from the murder.
Got it.
Famiglia,
and that he's never said anything like that.
Scusa, come faccio io a dire sì, accetto questo dialogo? Io invece, come altre 100 persone, io ho visto lì a Catanzaro.
He said he's seen I'm sorry.
Dunque,
He said I've seen 100 other people in that same jail. He goes, I mean, I'm not going to accept that dialogue. He goes, and that's it. I mean, basically he's denying it. But the eerie part about that is, if you will, this guy's, it's over.
Okay.
We're over with that part. But the thing is, the eerie part about that whole little confrontation is that he's just there, cool as a cucumber, and just denying the fact that he just annihilated his family. It had something to do with his kids' murder. And years after that, in '93, this guy Cungemi, who became the new leader of the Porto Novo, Stefano Cungemi, he became a bandito. He became a cooperator, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
And he pled out to strangling both Buscetti's kids on the orders of Pippo Galù. He strangled them himself, you know. And he apologized to Buscetti. He said, "I'm sorry about what I did to your kids." He goes, "No, don't apologize." He goes, "That's Cosa Nostra." He goes, "That's how that life is. It wasn't your fault. You were told to do something, and you did it." And that was that.
Interesting. Do you want to? We can kind of like unpack this a little bit and wrap up, or do you want to do a little bit of Leggio as well, or do you want to reserve that for tomorrow or the next day?
Oh yeah, no, Leggio's pretty. I've noticed Leggio. He tries to deflect a lot of stuff because he wasn't out. He was in jail all this time. So he's like, what do I got to do with this? I'm not the leader. You even say it yourself.
Also, no, don't get me wrong. Pippo Galù was super important and up there, but Luciano Leggio was, I mean, the precursor to Riina, and arguably the most powerful guy at that time. You know, the fact that he even kind of spoke, I was just surprised. Like, I don't think Miguel Greco spoke. Some of the bigger guys. Riina eventually did when he got caught in '93. But yeah, let's watch a little bit of that before we wrap up, and then we kind of leave.
Which one? The Luciano Leggio?
Yeah, let's just do that for like
all right. This is the play-by-play guy you're gonna get right after this, so just get rid of that.
I did. Oops.
Negli anni 60, 61 mi incontrò più volte
nella tenuta Costa, condotta dallo stesso Cicchetelli, a festeggiare all'aria aperta carciofe arrostite, pesce fatte sul fuoco così. Lui, accompagnandoci, che è venuto lì e ci trovò a me con un cucino di sto.
So this is not confronting Buscetta. This is just.
He's saying that he knew him vaguely because he came with some guy and that had a pretty unique Sicilian nickname, Ciccadedro. And if you notice, the lawyer is sitting down when he starts to say that, they start laughing because they take him as like a hick. You know, he's from Corleone and they're very, and they do start laughing after a while. And he says that he remembers giving Buscetta a pair of shorts because he was by the beach and he's just babbling.
È lo stesso Cicchetelli. E abbiamo mangiato di questi pesci e carciofi arrostiti all'aria aperta. Quindi non vedo perché.
The guy laughing?
Poi dice non mi conosce. E lui aveva un'opera verde, come quasi sta.
Yeah, he's just kind of like bullshit. He's like, oh, we had fish. I went by the beach.
Yeah, I know him. He was just like a guy that was there. He's trying to discredit him and that's the only way he knows him. And Buscetta was going to say stuff. This is really not the highlight of the stuff. I don't know why. I think they were just trying to be comical. The actual journalist in this episode.
Well, this is important. Gianni. So in Corleone, has an anti-mafia kind of center and museum now, and they actually have, they have all the files from the Maxi trial in one place, which is absolutely insane. And to have actually like had an anti-mafia museum in the mafia kind of home ground is pretty interesting. I don't know if I told you this, Frank, and I probably should if I didn't. Salvo Riina, Toto Riina's son, went to Corleone recently. He went to go visit his mother, and when he got there, he got expelled. The city council wanted to remove him. Now I don't know if they did, but they made a big stink at it and made the media, and they wanted him out there. And again, just to kind of unpack that a little bit, Salvo Riina is obviously Toto Riina's son, but his mother was a Bagatella. So if you want to go through, or I can, the Bagatellas, which are kind of like the New York Yankees and the Dallas Cowboys coming together, you know, in terms of prominence in that life. But maybe you want to unpack that a little bit, Frank?
Well, there was four top families in Corleone growing up, and Bagatella was one of them. Riina was the other, and you had like Leggio and Provenzano, and before him, Miguel Novara, the doctor.
That's where they claimed the fame.
So if you're talking about who's who, that's who they were, and a very powerful family right within Corleone. That's and they're married. He's married to a Bagatella. Riina was his wife.
And they kind of pulled the Castellano hit before the Castellano hit by taking out Novara, and I think it was a triumvirate of Leggio, Provenzano, and Riina, and that's what propelled Leggio to prominence. Correct?
And that's correct. And that was in '58. He at that point in that trial where you see Leggio, he's still in jail for that murder.
Yes, that's right. That is correct.
Okay. And but basically that's what he's saying. And we're gonna bring in Contorno eventually. Which is
I'm excited about that one. All right, let's see.
I'm excited about that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. He basically goes back and forth.
Okay.
Buscetta, come lei sa, parla di una commissione, di cose nella quale faceva parte lei. Volevo chiederle questo, poi lei risponde come ritiene più opportuno. Buscetta ha fatto parte di questa commissione, anche se...
Ma prima di tutto ha messo in un concesso che la commissione ci fosse stata e che io ne facesse parte, per poter rispondere se Buscetta ne faceva parte.
All right, he's just deflecting. He goes, do you know if Buscetta was part of the commission? He goes, how would I know if he was part of the commission? Because I'm not part of no commission. So I can't say if he was or he wasn't. but I did see him one time, you know, and I lent him a pair of shorts because he's uncomfortable, and it was really, really, you know. He gets into that. It was really hot that day, so he's just being a showman. He's probably been locked up for so long. He puts on a suit and says, "Let me fuck around a little bit," and that's what he's doing.
And this is a complete waste of everybody's time.
Yeah, people are laughing. You see that people watching it, just like, what the heck? And he's talking about, you know, he's giving the Sicilian guys with the nicknames that are pretty funny, like Chickadee and whatever, and they're like, oh, look at this, you know. But it's going to be more entertaining when you see. You got to watch the movie The Traitor, and it's a great movie. That confrontation with Colo and Buscetta is exceptionally done. The acting is phenomenal. The guy who acted in that part, he was great. I forgot his name.
He was in
His name is Casio, and he plays Contorno. He's from Palermo himself, and they killed that confrontation in that movie. And that movie's pretty good. It's one of my favorite mob movies ever. If you're into subtitles, check it out. It's called The Traitor, and it's about what took place in that.
Luigi Locascio, great actor. I like him a lot. And then
he plays Salvador Contorno.
Francesco Fiordilino. He was in the Suburra movie, which I think should be still on Netflix. That's kind of like the Gomorrah of Rome, the Suburra movie, and then the Suburra show that I think ran 3 seasons. And now, actually, on Netflix, there's Suburra Eterna, which has most of the previous cast. So, to me, Gomorrah is number 1. Like, Gomorrah is 2 notches below Sopranos. Maybe not 1 notch. Maybe 1 notch in the Italian sense. And then right behind that is Suburra, which is the Roman version of Gomorrah, and that's really good.
God, I did not like that series at all.
The movie was good. The
Suburra, not Gomorrah. I liked.
Well, the thing with Suburra, Gomorrah is like chess. I mean, checkers, action, killing, fast. The father, the son.
Yeah,
Suburra is like slow playing chess, which is
it's fairy tale-ish.
What Rome is about. Rome. They said nobody presides over Rome. Nobody controls Rome. They just kind of sit in and watch because Rome controls them. And just that dynamic and knowing the Roman history. I don't know. I'm like a big Roman history buff. So I enjoyed it. I don't know. I thought it was good. Is that probably Nelson? Hey, Nelson, how are you? So
I enjoy.
Go ahead.
But you guys watch The Traitor if you haven't. It's a really well done movie. It's a really good mob movie. It's not the traditional American mob movie, if that's what you're looking for.
The only thing I didn't like about it is they kind of fast forwarded to Buscetta and his time in Brazil. I would have liked to see him like growing up. I would have liked to see him in action. And they kind of like went along the narrative that he wasn't a drug dealer, which is basically full of shit. But that's my only movie. But otherwise, a fantastic movie. And Frank, I don't know if you know. I mean, I know you know this, but I don't know if you noticed this. Previously, mob movies in Italy, and even Gomorrah's like that, are very raw. Like they don't have like good-looking actors. They're not fancy. It's like really what the mafia is. That was the first time The Traitor is the first time the Italian media did kind of an Americanized, got good-looking actors, actresses, big-name actresses, gave them eloquence, gave them better scripted, and they realized they copied the Americans on glorifying the mafia because they don't like to glorify the mafia there, and that's the first time they ever did in The Traitor. I don't know if you guys ever.
I didn't know that. But what I did find, which was pretty accurate, was they portraying the Palermo mob, you know, to a T. They were very good dresses. They were fancy. They're flamboyant people in Palermo. They're not really. And then you have Toto Riina in that party that's put together, that New Year party, and he's like a fish out of the water. He's there like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know?
Yep.
And if you
go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead.
How did the Riina, which was like a farm guy. Again, I equated to like the Buffalino family almost conquering the 5 families in a way. How did Riina in the short version pull it off? That's insane.
He had a lot of people involved. There's a lot of these towns like his around in the mob. So it basically was everyone against the Palermo faction of Inzarello and Pontante, and that's what went on. They conquered within. They took a lot of young blood guys that would probably had to wait a little bit longer to be made to be in those positions.
Yeah.
And they had them do a lot of look at Brusca. He's another redneck. There's a lot of rednecks. There's the guys in my town that were involved with Riina that I'm not going to mention. One of my relatives is married to them, so they were pretty redneckish, and they had a lot of them.
Yeah, and
it wasn't just people think it was just Corleone against the world.
Yeah, and the reason why it spills over in the United States, and that'll be like kind of a part 3, 4-ish type thing, is what effect did it have on the U.S., right? Because you had Spatola, Inzarello, and Gambino as a triumvirate in Palermo, and the Palermitani dealt with the Gambinos here in the U.S. and had that connection.
Right.
So I believe
Johnny Callahan put it pretty good. They're Sicilian hillbillies. That's exactly what they are. And listen, even in my town, that war caused a lot of bad blood. Even up to today, there was people that grew up together that killed each other. I'll give you an example. James's relatives, James Wichelatos, was killed.
Wow.
During that war.
Felicia.
There was another. Actually, 2 of his relatives.
But one of them was Felicia Buccellato, right?
No. That was back in the day.
Okay.
One was Martino, and one was Nino.
Okay.
Who was the head of Castellamare at that point in the 80s.
Now, one of the things
70s and 80s.
One of the things that is important to bring up, though, is after Riina pretty much mowed everybody down, and John Gambino, I don't know if does Castellano send him? Does he go on his own? Does Riina call for him? But John Gambino goes to visit Riina, which is I actually personally think was a sign of respect for John Gambino because he just killed him. Why does Gambino go there? We know why. We'll get to why he goes there, but
I don't know. I mean, I don't. I've talked about this before. I just don't know why he goes there. Maybe to strengthen that pipeline. It's because the pipeline was.
I think it was twofold. I think it was to strengthen the pipeline, and they were worried about them bringing the war over to the U.S., and that would have brought a lot of heat on.
Well, maybe testing the waters. Where are we here? What's going on?
But I personally think that Riina said, "No worries. You buy your stuff from us. Facciamo un bel accordo. Have a nice deal. However, I need these 2 guys gone." And they were the Inzarello in Brooklyn and the Inzarello in Jersey that ended up in a trunk. Now, Sammy, I don't know. I don't know if it's Sammy. You guys got to forgive me, but I don't
want to even bring him up in this conversation because we're giving him too much credit. He doesn't know nothing about this stuff. I don't want to even hear about him.
Sorry. What happened was allegedly one of the Inzarellos got killed, which I don't buy this because he got his butt in both Italy and here, and you're not supposed to do that. But that is just a bullshit narrative. It was really Riina's like, you know what, I'll back off, but these 2 got to go. And then that was a price of peace with John Gambino, which is probably a pretty good negotiation considering. Riina had a hard Sicilian accent and very hard to understand. Even the judges had a time listening. Yeah, so we talked about this. When we do Catorno, like, you watch and the people don't.
It's not a horrible Sicilian accent. It's a Sicilian accent. He just doesn't talk Italian.
Yeah.
He talks Palermitano, but Palermitano 100%. That's how they talk when you go there. He sounds like one of those people who sell food vendors in a bucceria. That's it. That's what he sounds like.
But Toto was even worse. Like the judges, didn't they? Like they just didn't understand him when he spoke, right? I mean, I don't know what the video was showing, but
no, there was some Sicilian judges. They just laughed because they're like, oh, look at this fucking hillbilly out of nowhere. And not only that, he was getting so heated that his accent was coming out even more and more, because while he was giving his testimony about why he flipped or whatnot, people in the background that he recognized their voice were giving him the business, and he was going back and like saying, "Shut the fuck up! I know who you are. Your sister died. She was a junkie, and you gave her the drugs." He was saying stuff like that,
and
so it became a circus.
And he I don't know. Again, Buscetta like kind of romanticized things. Allegedly, he wasn't going to roll. And then he saw Buscetta and went on his knee, and Buscetta said it was okay. I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. Where do you kind of land on that?
I don't know. Italians are dramatic. Who the fuck knows? He probably like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there's other things I think are more freaking exaggerated than that. Like the exaggeration that he didn't he was minding his business in Brazil. Buscetta was, and he didn't really get involved in anything. Then they just started killing his family for no reason. I don't believe that. He was entertaining conversations. He entertained Badalamenti, and they found out about it.
Well, he was evidently powerful enough to make an enemy. Or no?
Yeah, they felt he had power because he had a lot of power in Palermo, and they were afraid of him, of course. But Kalu was a snake. He trusted him, and he was telling him probably, look, where there's smoke, there's fire. Buscetta must have said something that pissed everybody off in Sicily, like, let's go fucking get what's ours, or something to that effect, and that's what caused all that beef.
And ultimately, let's be honest, what was at stake was control over the heroin pipeline and the construction contracts in Palermo. Those were kind of the two big things that gave a shit about, correct?
Well, construction was huge. If you look, so you got Gaetano Badalamenti, who stood at the commission, and he had government pull. He had that for years. Okay, he had that forever, dating back to after World War II. And not only that, the construction, he built a freaking airport right in his backyard and gave the work, and that's his airport, man.
Punta Rasi, right now it's the Falcone Airport of all things. All right,
livestock, even the fruit, the citrus industry is huge in Sicily.
Well, if you haven't seen my interview with John Dickey, he actually goes by the real origin of the mob. It wasn't just the landowners and them watching the land, but it was taking over the citrus industry, specifically the lemons.
Oh, yeah.
John Dickey knows the shit. He's like one of the.
John Dickey is one of my favorite journalists.
He's a gentleman.
He knows his stuff, and it's
him and Anna Sergi poo-pooed my global higher than Lasante mafia. That's kind of like in the dust, like kind of controlling in government. And then meanwhile, they found out that the three groups are getting together recently, forming a super mafia. So I don't know if I was right, but he kind of poo-pooed it. But I still respect John Dickey to a great extent. So, all right, how do you wrap it up, Frank? I appreciate your time. We'll try to do the second part tomorrow. Why don't you give the closing remarks, and then we'll wrap it up.
If there are any questions from anybody you want to take before we leave, that'll be great.
Yeah, if you want to put any questions below, we'll give you guys about like another minute or so. I just wrapped from a cool interview. I got a studio, guys. We're moving up in the world. Hopefully Frank will come up when he gets a chance. When I do in-studio interviews, we got the studio there. 3 cameras. Hopefully none of them pointing to me. And I just interviewed Louis Ferrante, who wrote the book Mob Rules. He's an ex-Gambino associate, and he just wrote a book, Rise of the Mafia. It's not even out yet. I got literally the galley copy sent to me yesterday, and it's not even out yet. So I got a preview version. He happened to be in New York. Last minute interview. We're doing a big interview on Wednesday. Somebody from the mob genre.
Thank you, Maureen.
So that's pretty cool. And then this Friday, we'll be interviewing somebody close to the Riina family. So stay tuned for that. That's kind of why we're doing this as a lead. And thank you, Maureen. Really appreciate you coming on. After we start, yeah. So Gianni, very important. I'm streaming on a few different channels. The replay is going to be on Mobsters Inc. So anybody watching, you want to replay it, you want to send it to somebody, you're checking it out. It's going to live on Mobsters Inc., not New Theory. New Theory is more my business stuff. I'm just streaming there just for some of the regular folks who kind of haven't subbed to Mobsters Inc. and are used to me streaming there when I do stream. I don't stream it often. Yeah, so Francesco Fiordilino is here, and we went over the People Callo versus Buscetta at the Maxi Trial and a little bit of Luciano Leggio and the Maxi Trial. We're trying to build up, and over time, we want to show how like the Sicilian Cosa Nostra kind of worked parallel with the guys in New York, and then how they kind of worked together, but yet they were separate. After Gotti took over, I did a video on this. Allegedly, Riina wanted to go after Gotti for doing that, but I think he got mopped up in other stuff. Yes, I'm interviewing Salvo again for a second piece. I'm very excited about that. Johnny, you have my email. If you want to ask me any questions to ask him, they have to be about the book. I cannot ask about anything that's about the mob and that kind of stuff. Peterstown, great to hear from you, buddy. Hopefully you're doing well. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
No fights, though. What's up, buddy?
And Timothy, good. Thank you. All right, we'll wrap it up, brother. So you want to say the closing words?
No, I mean, I guess we'll be back with the Contorno.
Awesome. And if you guys want to donate, obviously with the super chats will be off, but if you want to hit the thanks button, Frank and I are going to pool any money. There is some time dedicated to this, depending on kind of the finances. We'll kind of look how it nets out. If it makes sense, we'll do it further. So feel free to donate. The thanks icon.
Thank you.
And on my Cash App, I think is in the about. Some people prefer to do that because they don't big the 30%. And without further ado, we really appreciate everybody being on, and everybody could have a good night.
Well.